What's up, y'all? Life has been lifing as life has never lifed before in my life. So I haven't really found the time to edit all of the amazing things that I did in Vietnam and Thailand and here in Chongqing. So in the meantime, instead of leaving you hanging and not posting anything on this channel, I'm going to post a podcast that I recorded a year ago. Yes, I know. Here she goes again, posting stuff from an entire calendar year ago. This is from March 2022. But a lot of this is still relevant, and it will give you some insight into
why a black woman in her 30s would move to China.
I don't know if you're into podcasts, but I am. I love listening to them. I love being a guest on them. And I've been really fortunate to be a guest on several during the time that I've lived here in China. This one starts off with a little bit of the fourth wall being down. You get to hear a little bit of what we discussed before we actually started recording the pod. So it starts off there, and then we get into the conversation. To make this a little bit better for your viewing pleasure, I did throw in some photos and some B-roll from some of the things that we discussed in this conversation. Hindsight is a beautiful thing. I said something in this episode that really didn't age well. It's really insightful to look back at things from a year ago, 6 months ago, and see where you are now. So this was kind of therapeutic for me to watch again, and I hope that it is helpful and insightful for you if you're thinking about moving abroad or even just traveling more now that the world is fully back open. I hope you enjoy it. I'll see you back soon for part 2 of the hotels I stayed in while I was in Thailand. And you can always find me on Instagram at The Destination.
You've reached the destination.
Okay, so basically, this is a real quick, it's a 30-minute, well, I try to keep it at 30 minutes or less. I try not to ask you anything that's ignorant. Obviously, for the sake of this convo, I'm definitely not going to ask you anything that's crazy.
You can ask me whatever you want, and I don't have any.
We do not want a Brittany Griner situation out here.
No. No, I've been on several podcasts while I've been here, and I've probably said some things that like some people would be like, I can't believe she said that. Like, it's fine. You can ask me whatever you want, and I don't have any time restrictions.
It's just me being respectful of. I've been to other countries, so I know how it is. So
cool.
You're listening to Redesign Rebuild Reclaim, presented by Suite929. All guests appear courtesy of Tech We Like. Chuck Holiday here. My guest today, I don't even know where to start with this. This is a traveling, I don't know the words to use here. Traveling, just everything, global. You know, I told her on Instagram she should add global into her name because that's really what this is. To maybe start here, I want to say maybe instructor, teacher, educator, has dabbled a little bit in events, also a hairstylist, a former hairstylist. I still consider a current hairstylist because you style your own hair, so you're still a hairstylist by nature. Ladies and gentlemen, Jessica.
What's up? Hey, Chuck.
It is good to have you on. It is very, very, very good to see you. Very good to have you on. I appreciate you doing this.
Having me.
I don't take that lightly. I want to start with the experience in China.
Okay.
You're currently in China. You have been teaching in China for a number of years now. I want to say it's how many years has it been? It's been 3, or is it 2?
4. I just hit the 4-year mark in last week.
Actually, it's been 5 now. As of March 8th, 2023, I've been here for 5 whole years.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You are in Chongqing. Did I say that correctly?
Close, very close. It's Chongqing. The Q is like a chi, CH sound. Chongqing, China.
I'm getting my education today, baby. Now, to ask you the experience, that's a dumb question. I want to say, after 4 years, how have you been able to really wake up and adjust mentally, knowing that this is home, and you know, obviously you're an American by default, but this is home now.
Yeah.
And there are certain things that you know you just can't run back to such and such city. How has the adjustment been after 4 years? And I don't mean from your first year to your fourth year, but now waking up and you're in your fourth year and you know that this is it. This is what it is until you move.
Mm-hmm. Now it is quite different from when I first got here. When the first 2 years, I think all the way up to 2 years, I would wake up sometimes and be like, oh my gosh, I'm in China. Like, how did I get here? I really live in China. But now that never happens. It's just, this is normal for me. And it's almost like I think about when I leave here, how different that's going to be and how I'm going to feel just different. Like, it's going to be weird to me to not be in China one day. And that thought is kind of like, wow, like I really adjusted completely to this place. And that's what it is. I really live in China.
Isn't that crazy that you're from America, you've lived the majority of your life in America, but now to have been in Colombia and to be in China and then to now look at the daunting task that if you do return to America, you're essentially a tourist.
Yeah, I will be more foreign. I will be a foreigner in America, basically. I will be. After 4 years living on this side of the earth where everything is so different, I will be a foreigner when I return to America. Like, I think about how I'm going to have to get with my friends and, like, reacclimate. I've already experienced reverse culture shock when I moved back from Colombia to the States for about 8 months. And the first 2 months of that was like,
no speak English. No speak English.
This is so weird. Like, I heard about reverse culture shock, but I didn't. Experiencing it is something just totally different. Like, getting used to understanding every single conversation going on around me was like one of the big things. Because living abroad, even though I understood Spanish, I wasn't always tuning into what other people were saying. But when it's your native language of English and you can hear every single conversation going on, it really like got to me at first.
Wow. Let's go into the Colombia thing now. When you left Charlotte, North Carolina, and you ventured out to Colombia, now you're not originally from Charlotte, where we know that already. But when you left Charlotte and you ventured out to Colombia for this new trek, this new endeavor in, I want to say, education, correct?
Correct. I was teaching.
How now? Colombia, I think, is a different type of animal in terms of that. I don't know. Maybe you can explain that better than me. The move to Colombia, I'm almost assuming, was much harder than your move to China.
No, it was the opposite. Moving to Colombia, because Colombia is still in the Americas. It's still in the western part of the world. It's only 5 hours away from Charlotte. I only had a 1 hour time difference between East Coast time and where I was living in Medellin. So it wasn't that much of a change. Like, Western societies are very similar. And that's something that I wouldn't have known until I experienced what an Eastern society is like. So that wasn't difficult at all. Like, I think I always knew I was really adaptable. I can adapt to any environment. But until I got out of the U.S., I didn't know how true that was. So I really adjusted to Colombia, like, instantly. I was like, oh, this is home. This, like, am I, Mom, are you sure? I'm like, black? Because I think I might be Colombian. I think I'm Colombian. So, yeah, it was instant. Like, I fell in love with the country, the culture, everything. I love Colombia so much.
And it was very obvious in your Instagram, the destination, by the way. It was very obvious in your Instagram that you had a lot of fun in Colombia. I saw a lot of the clips. Obviously, I follow you. We every now and then chat. Just to be able to see the photos, the videos, dancing, and just the culture. I mean, I think all of us were living through you in Colombia. You look like you were having the time of your life. And obviously that ended. You had to return to Charlotte, or you did return. I don't say you had to. You returned to Charlotte and I think I actually saw you a couple of times. Those were during my dark years. And then you prepared for this next venture.
Correct.
Was this planned? Did you intend to leave out of Charlotte? Or let me just rephrase that. Did you intend to leave out of the Americas again? Was this actually planned, or was this something that really came and then you said, hey, the time in Colombia was cool, let me try it somewhere else?
So if it were up to me, if money wasn't an object, I would have stayed in Colombia. I would have stayed there, and that would have been my home base, and I would have continued to travel wherever. But as a teacher there, I was living on a stipend of $500 a month, which in pesos was like 1.5 million pesos, which is a decent living wage, but it was not realistic for someone in their 30s who was trying to save money, trying to get into investing, trying to build for the future, but also still have fun and be young and travel. Like, that just wasn't going to work. So I looked into some other things.
Yeah, I mean, I think... Oh, no, go ahead.
I looked into maybe I could teach online to supplement my income, other types of like remote work and things online, but nothing really came to fruition fast enough. Like a lot of pots were brewing, but they just weren't brewing quick enough. I started a course, and that was like a little bit of money, just wasn't enough fast enough. So that's what prompted me to go back to the US to prepare to come to somewhere else. China was the first place, but I was also looking into other countries in Asia as well, just because the pay is much better for educators.
Yeah, I mean, I watched that with the sports athletes, and wow, it's crazy to see the pay difference. Going back to Colombia, can you describe a lot of the culture? Looking at your Instagram, again, the Destination, looking at the videos, it was fun. I mean, I'm living through you, and it was fun. I remember there was a video you were at a spot. It looks like a restaurant or somewhere like that. You were dancing, and the music was loud. I mean, you look like you were having the time of your life. You look like you were just lost in the element.
Yeah,
which is something incredible.
What can I say?
Take me to just a lot of the things that maybe Americans would appreciate in Colombia that you were able to appreciate during your time there.
I think specifically for Black Americans, and a lot of other people have shared this with me as well, is that the diaspora is huge. So when we go there, until you open your mouth, they don't know that you're not Colombian. So that was one big reason why immediately I felt welcome. And it doesn't matter what shade of Black you are. Colombians come in every shade too, for the same reasons that we do. So that's a big part of it, number one. Number two, music. I love music. It's something that's always just been in me. I don't play any instruments. I tried. But, you know, I'm a auditory person. Music is always playing no matter what. And that culture exists there. Like, there's so many types of genres of music I didn't know about, so I got to learn about that. I know that you went on tour with Onyx many years ago, and Onyx actually did a concert in Medellin.
You pulling up small stuff here.
Onyx performed in Medellin at a concert, and I had so much fun. They really love 90s hip hop in Medellin, Colombia. Like 90s Americana is just everything there. So yeah, Onyx pulled up and they knew every word. It was like it was amazing. Like singing Slim.
You know, that's the one thing that people don't realize, that we are, just to go to these other countries. I got a chance to go to Slovenia earlier in my when I was a photographer.
Mm-hmm.
We're definitely not doing that anymore. But when I was a photographer back in maybe mid 2000s, I got a chance to go to Slovenia and to Italy, but not the Italy that is the glamorous Italy. This was like the other side of Italy where it was
the real Italy.
And I want to say I think I partied somewhere in Slovenia, and Slovenia is different. I'm one of the few Black people there, and it was mind-boggling how Jay-Z came on and everybody knew the lyrics. Everybody knew the lyrics. It was just, you know, there's little things that sometimes music brings you together in so many different ways. And music just really brought everybody together with the lyrics. You just don't realize how much that is such a universal language.
Yes,
until you're in front of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy though about the music with with you being in Colombia and just how it translates over and things like that. That's crazy. Mm-hmm. That is. That's crazy. I mean, again, I saw the videos. I mean, it just looked so culturally just rich.
Yeah, you know? And they love to share their culture.
So you obviously the Colombia thing was a great look. It seemed like a great look, and then you venture back to little old America.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, let's call it what it is. Little old America. That's what it is.
You know, our homeland.
And I remember seeing you.
Our homeland.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, by default. Yeah. And I know I ran into you a couple of times over with the Grease Twins at a couple of their establishments. You did a lot of community things, a lot of events things, and just to be back, I knew that had to have been a downer.
It wasn't though. It wasn't, because I never planned to move there to Colombia permanently. In fact, my first contract was for 5 months. It was never like I'm moving. It was like, let me try this out. I got this job for 5 months and then I'll be back. I didn't, that was the plan. But then I got there, fell in love, and then I extended it for another 5 months. And then I ended up staying through those vacation periods. So it ended up being a full year there. When I came back, I had already planned to leave again. So it wasn't sad at all. It was a formality one. I had to apply for my visa for China from the United States. You have to apply from your home country. I tried to apply from Colombia. I tried to move from Colombia directly to China. I did try that, but that wasn't a possibility. So I had fun. Like that time in the States was supposed to be 3 months. I thought it'll take 3 months to get all the paperwork done, and then I'll go to China. That 3 months turned into 8 months because of several reasons. Paperwork got lost. There was a hurricane. A lot of stuff happened, and it made that time turn into 8 months. But I still wasn't mad. Of course I had to work. I was like, I gotta get a job. I didn't plan on being here this long. But that turned into something. I almost didn't come to China. Because I was having so much fun bartending.
Bartending seems like it never gets old.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it does some days. Everybody got to quit one day. I mean, you ain't going to be fine forever, but...
No.
I was still fine enough then to make good money, and I was having a good time bartending at strip clubs. So, and then I fell back in with my friends, and I was just in a good groove, in a good space, and I almost didn't come to China. Almost didn't come.
That sounds like a lot. You go from teaching in Colombia, you come back to the States, and you're bartending at a strip club.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You are one of a kind.
Partying all the time. Yeah, I was having a good time.
Now, you are one of a kind. That's all I'll say there. So your first, let's go all the way back to your first few months in China. Because 4 years, look, you get time to adjust. But your first couple to few months in China, now obviously this is a culture shock. This has to be a culture shock. Now, regardless of you living in Colombia, you living abroad, and you embracing living, because that's the thing, you embraced living abroad, because a lot of people don't embrace it.
Yeah.
You embraced living abroad. But still living and moving to the East is something of a different animal.
Indeed.
And I know that there had to have been adjustments. I know that it's well chronicled on your social media, the obvious stares.
Cause even with my hoodie on, but I made you look. I made you look.
Look, you are very, very, look, first and foremost, you're a nice looking woman.
Thank you.
You're a nice looking woman with curves. That is not the case in the East.
Correct.
How was those first couple of months? I know had to have been something of an eye-opener, regardless of whether you plan this trip or not. Because it's one thing to read about it, to study on it. It's a whole nother thing to drop into this country and you're saying, whoa, wow, whoa.
Yeah. So, I mean, upon entry, when you enter and you're working, you're brought by your company. So your company is coddling you a little bit. Someone's going to pick you up from the airport. They're going to deliver you to your hotel. Someone's there and you're so like wide-eyed and everything is just like, you're not paying attention to all the things that later will get on your nerves.
So you're getting the coming to America treatment, essentially.
Yeah, somewhat. I did get something happened with my flight and I ended up there later than anticipated. They still came and got me and everything, but I guess they had been waiting for a while, so they kind of just delivered me to my hotel and they were like, oh, you need a subway card so you can get to work tomorrow, so we'll walk you to the station and get your card. So they did that and then they were like, okay, you know how to get back to the hotel, right? No, not really. I wasn't paying attention because I just got off a flight that I've been on for 16 hours. I'm tired. No, do not just leave me here at this metro station. So that very quickly turned into like chaos and me being like, all right, put my traveler brain back on. Even though I'm super jet lagged, I got to pay attention to where I just came from. I got to pay attention. The next day, we started work and I was in Beijing, not in my home city of Chongqing yet. So again, we're being coddled. We can't speak Chinese. There are, the group I came in with is huge. I think there were like 75 people from all over the world, all there to teach English for this company. So, there's safety in numbers. We all felt pretty comfortable because we're all in this together. So the real shock didn't set in for me until I got to Chongqing. So I flew from Beijing, came to Chongqing with one other girl who also was moving here with me from the same company. And a similar thing happened where they put me on a bus. We were looking for apartments and they put me on a bus and they were like, the driver will tell you when to get off. Bye. And I'm like, the driver can't speak English? I can't speak. What? It was very like that. It was a lot of that and it was really frustrating. I think I cried like so many times the first week I was here. I wanted to come back to the States immediately. I was over it very quickly. But it's far away.
That's understandable, and especially when you come from happiness, and I'm not trying to say China's not happiness, but when you come from a sense of comfort, and then you now go into this where the regulations, it's one thing to say that the regulations are different, but the regulations are very strict and stern, I would assume, in the East as opposed to in the West. Whereas in the West, you can do something to a police officer and depending on the tone of your skin, you.
I think though here, like, you'd be surprised. Like, it's kind of difficult to explain, but like, there is a sense of freedom here that I feel that I may not feel in the States. In that, number one, police officers here are useless. Police don't do anything here. I have so many clips of like, look at the police sleeping, look at the police not doing anything. The police, it's so different. The police are not the regulators for anything. It's very comical. But you have to worry about like regular citizens that kind of overstep their pseudo authority on whatever they think they're supposed to run. People are just very inquisitive here. So it's not the police. The police know who you are because you are a legal resident. You had to go through a lot to get here. Like, I'm considered a foreign expert. I had to go through so much paperwork, and the government knows all of that information. And any police officer who wants to know can just type in whatever system they have and they can read everything about me. So it's never the police. it's always some random person who feels like they need to know why this foreigner is standing in front of them or in their presence. So sometimes...
And that's crazy. According to your Instagram, obviously, people are looking, people are stare, people are kind of invading a little bit on your privacy. And I say privacy as in just you standing there being Black.
Exactly.
And...
standing here minding my business.
I know you mentioned a couple of times people will just walk up on you and just take photos, and that's got to be tough. I know people in the States always want to be a celebrity of sorts, and you're actually living what's the equivalent to that from a sense of the privacy matters.
Exactly.
And that's got to be tough.
It sucks. People think they want to be a celebrity until you're treated like a celebrity. And the kicker is, I don't get paid like a celebrity. I mean, to some Chinese standards, maybe. We do make a lot, so it makes it worth it a little bit. But no, I don't wish that on anyone. I don't understand. I do understand how celebrities go crazy and how they go on these rants online. Like, I get it. Every time some celebrity is on Twitter going crazy or on Insta Live saying, I'm like, I get it. Because it's hard. Everything you do, you can't even walk out your front door without someone taking a picture of you or following you. It's the strangest things, and it's usually harmless. It's just curiosity. They've never seen anybody that looks like you before. But that is like frustrating to me because it's 2022. You have a TV. I know that the internet is blocked in some ways, but there are ways around it. And it's 2022. Like, your kids should know.
LeBron James is on every TV on the globe. I mean, you've seen Black people at some point. LeBron James and Serena Williams are somewhere on the globe, somewhere.
Stephen Curry's picture is in so many places in this city that I'm like, do you not what part is not registering?
And my fellow Brooklynite, Stephon Marbury.
Yes.
Yeah, I know he's in Beijing, but still.
Nope, but yeah, his stuff is D Wade is everywhere here. Like, there's so many Black Americans that are represented here, but they don't correlate the two when they see one standing in front of them. And I guess that's the part that's frustrating for me.
Have you been able to improve or maybe evolve with your quality of life? Because I think that's the one thing I always think about with a move like that. Look, the closest I've been to China is Alaska. I lived in Alaska in the 80s.
You did?
That's
wow.
as close as I'm getting there. Have you been able to really improve on your quality of life or just evolve on it in general? Because I know that there's an eating thing, there's a dietary difference. I know that the foods are probably a little bit more safer in the East as opposed to the schlop that you're getting in the West.
That's a huge myth too. The food here is terrible. It's so unhealthy. It's so unhealthy. That is a huge myth, a terrible misconception.
To clarify, yes, of course, you can find healthy, fresh food in China. Of course, vegetables are king here. It's just that the general diet is fried and oily. That's all I'm saying. It's delicious, though.
It is.
Damn.
I eat a pretty vegetarian diet. I'm pescatarian, but if I'm eating out, I always just say I'm vegetarian because I don't know what might end up in my food if I don't stress the no meat part, because they eat all the parts of all the animals, and it's always swimming.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. They eat all the parts of all the animals. And I mean, I hear it's delicious. I'm not going to yuck anybody else's yum. But for me...
No, obviously, no, not at all.
That is a huge misconception. A lot of fried foods, a lot of oily foods.
There are some American brands there, like a McDonald's.
For sure.
And things like that. What is the fascination with American fried foods in these other countries when you know what's coming with these foods? I mean, we barely like eating it in the States. Yeah. What is the fascination? I just don't understand.
Me either. Like, they love KFC here. They love some KFC. KFC is probably the most popular Western chain in my city. Wow. Yeah, of course, McDonald's is here, of course. And that food is very expensive. Like, a meal at McDonald's or KFC will be like $15 to $20 US if you did the conversion, where like a meal at a Chinese restaurant would be like $1 to $2. It's so expensive in comparison. Yeah. So I think that's part of it too. It's like a sign of wealth. Like if you can buy that, then like, oh, you got money. You can afford it. You know, you can take your kids to McDonald's. So yeah.
How has it been as an eye opener to work with these kids and to work with kids who are really learning? They're learning things for the first time about a whole nother part of the globe. They're seeing someone that they're not used to seeing on a regular basis, and kids are sponges.
Mm-hmm.
I can only imagine some of the things that have been eye-openers. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that actually in a good way.
No, yeah, that's definitely one of the bright spots about this, is that I know that I'm able to educate them, not just, you know, with them speaking and learning English, but the fact that they get to be around and see what an American is really like, a Black American at that, because they have no idea, especially at that age. I teach kids that are anywhere from 2 years old to 12, and you know, some of them, the older ones, maybe they had an American teacher before. They may have even had a Black American teacher, but the more, the better for them to just understand we're not aliens.
No.
Like, and I'm always using that opportunity for them to take that home and educate their grandparents who may be more ignorant, or even their parents. I know when I first came, man, so much has changed here in a short time, in a good way. But there were definitely times when parents would say, I don't want an African teacher. And then the school would be like, she's not African. She's from the U.S. She's a native English speaker. What's the problem? We don't want a Black teacher. Oh, you're racist. Just say that. just say that. Okay. So yeah, I mean that attitude has changed tremendously over the last 4 years, and I've noticed it, and that's a beautiful thing. And me walking down the street every day is like, there's a Black American here, and that is also educational. Like, I know that I get to educate people no matter what, whether I'm in a classroom or just at a park or whatever. So that part is good. I do enjoy that part of it.
Has living abroad changed your view on dating? And you don't have to go into detail about that, but just change your view in general because of what you dealt with in Colombia and now dealing with China, which is a totally different animal. I mean, has it changed or even maybe enhanced your view on dating over the years?
That's such a good question, and I never thought about it this way, but it has. It has made me even more Team Black Man.
What do y'all want to watch?
Black Man. That's my favorite show.
Like, it's made it so strong that it is. It's Team Black Man all day.
Go Black Man, go Black Man, go Black Man, go Black Man.
All day. And I've dated men of other cultures. I've dated men of other cultures, of course, because I feel like, I mean, you got to try it. Why not? And those experiences and just life in general has made me like Team super strong Black Man, and that's it. It's going to be a Black man or nothing at all for me at this point.
I don't blame you. You've had, now there are apps there that are different from the States. I believe y'all have Weibo, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
There's so many apps here. Like every version of...
I'm assuming there's no dating apps in China.
Oh, yeah. There's Tinder. There's regular Tinder.
Get out. Wow.
Yeah, there's regular Tinder, which, of course, all the foreigners are on that. But there's also a Chinese version of Tinder called Tantan. And it's just like Tinder, but it's just in Chinese. I have not personally used it because I just, as I said, Team Black Man. But I have a lot of friends who have, and I've looked, like, swiped through with them. They're like, oh, what do you think about this guy? And I've, checked out the platform to see what it's like. And for most of my foreign friends that are on it, they're like, if you can't speak Chinese, then the guy is not interested because they can't speak English. But I know people have hooked up from it or whatever, and it's just like anywhere else. Chinese Tinder. Yeah. They got all the apps.
What do you want people to learn? I know that you have people that are still a little bit indifferent about living abroad, and I have a few friends that live abroad, and I've always embraced it. I just didn't get a chance to do it. What do you want people to understand that it's not too bad about living abroad, regardless of what continent, what country it is? Maybe the one thing, maybe one or two things that everybody always has a perception of that is not the case.
The biggest thing I think is that people are afraid to go somewhere, not even just live, but to go somewhere where they don't speak the language. And I moved to both countries I lived in without ever visiting. I never visited Colombia or China before I decided to move here. And I did not speak Spanish or Mandarin before I got here, and I still have been able to thrive. So don't let that be a deterrent for why you don't want to go. Especially now, like, there's an app for everything. Like, just use your phone to translate. Like, worst case scenario, it's not a big deal. So that's the first thing. Don't let the language be a deterrent. And the second thing is, especially as Americans, I think that all Americans, we just have this sense of fear about everything when America is one of the most dangerous countries in the world.
Tell me about it. I'm going to Chicago. I do a lot of business in Chicago, and when I tell you it's I fear Chicago more than I fear other countries. As
a person now on the outside looking in, I get why other countries are like, oh my gosh, Americans. They ask the craziest questions. Do you have a gun? Have you ever been shot? I get why they ask those questions because the way that I get it now, because it looks like that from the outside. We live in there. We no, I've never been shot. No, nobody in my family owns a gun. I've shot a gun before, but like, just because I'm American, like, that's what people do. We go to the gun range sometimes, but you will be perfectly fine wherever in the world you choose to go to live abroad, to visit. Nobody's going to kidnap you.
First and foremost, rest in peace to the victims of this incident. We all need to use caution wherever we travel. This particular situation is an extremely rare event, and I won't let it deter me from visiting one of my favorite countries.
Chongqing, I'm saying that correctly, right?
Yes.
Chongqing is a major city. Does it feel like you've lived in? Well, no. Let me rephrase that. You've visited Brooklyn before. You spent a lot of time in Brooklyn before. Where I'm from. Mm-hmm. Does it have a lot of the same kind of characteristics or the same, maybe not personalities, phase on from Friday, but just a lot of the same, maybe just kind of the same MO a little bit?
Not exactly. Like, New York in general, Brooklyn, like, it's very hustle mentality. And Chongqing isn't like that at all. There are a lot of people here, like, the population of the whole metro area is 30 million people.
Damn.
Like, yeah, like you think you know, but you have no idea. Like,
so essentially you're on top of each other at some point commuting.
Exactly. So because of that, I do not commute. I'm very lucky to have a schedule that is outside of the normal commute hours, and I refuse to work anywhere that makes me have to adjust to that because I can't. The few times that I've had to be on the metro during rush hour, it is a nightmare. That's the scariest thing that I've ever had to deal with. It's just because people got to get where they got to go, and they're going to get there by any means necessary, whether that's pushing, shoving, your face smashed up against the window. So that, yeah, but Shanghai is more of a New York, like if we were going to do direct comparisons, because that city is more like people got to get to it. They got to get to the money. They have to get to work. They have to do a lot. There's a lot of things going on, and it's much more diverse like a New York is, where you have different ethnicities. You have different ethnicities that own businesses and things like that. Whereas Chongqing is huge and looks like, a very nice city. I like to refer to this city as a village masquerading as a big city. The mentality is very village. It's very Texas, if I'm going to compare it to a place in the States. It's very...
Sounds like another city that you used to live in, Charlotte.
No, I feel like Charlotte is a bit progressive. Charlotte is like, Charlotte is a blue city in a red state, Charlotte is
good point. Very good point.
So Charlotte is cool. The rest of North Carolina is questionable.
You ain't lying about that. You ain't lied.
So yeah.
I'm gonna get you out of here, but which of the three words has described you over the past few years with this journey, Redesign, Rebuild, Reclaim. And it could be any of the three or one of the three or all three.
I think
or any of them.
Redesign resonates the most. Redesign, because I have redesigned my life multiple times. If you would have told me 10 years ago that I would be living in China, in Chongqing, a city I never heard of before I started this process of moving here, I would have laughed in your face like, I'm never going to China. What are you talking about? I'm not going to live in China. That's crazy. So redesign, like from being a hairstylist to a teacher. That's another thing. If you would have told me, both of my parents are educators, and I've always said, I'm never going to be a teacher. Never doing that. And now I'm doing it. So yeah, redesign for sure. Redesign my life.
And somebody probably needs to redesign their portfolio to come out to China if they want to go ahead and make that move with you, because I just don't see you coming back to the States. I don't think it makes any sense. I mean, I know that we can't predict the future. Us two don't have that answer. Somebody else has that answer, and it's not us. But I think it's safe to say you're probably out there at least for the short term, correct?
I don't know. I mean, the last few months, I've been thinking that this is my last year. I'm trying to wrap it up here. But that could change. I have some ideas of things I want to do that would benefit those ideas if I stayed. But at the same time, because of the current situation, I can't come and visit the States. I haven't seen my family in 4 years. I have not been to the States since I moved here because I didn't know it wouldn't be an option. I was planning to come in 2020 and then
this happened.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm not going to hold you up. Your skin looks amazing. Sorry, Spotify users. Your skin looks incredible.
Thank you.
You're glowing. You look great. Your smile is great. You look infectious.
Oh,
it is great to have you on, Jessica. I appreciate it. Continued everything. I can't even say continued success because I think it's just everything. Continued everything. And I look forward to watching you on this next journey and living through you wherever you end up.
Thank you so much, Chuck. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. And Redesign, Rebuild, Reclaim. You can catch all episodes on Spotify, presented by Suite929. All guests appear courtesy of Tech We Like. Chuck Holiday signing off, the 3 R's.
The Destination.